Hey there, YouTube. This is Zephyr again, and continuing on with this character. So, behind the scenes, I've been doing a lot of modifications to make sure that the game is fair. So I have gone through and I have modified all items, and all enemies, and host skills, except for that one, apparently, to basically just have a lot less attack rating oriented stuff. So the only thing that has attack rating, and that's not a right number, that's supposed to be like 10% per level or something. Oh, no, it is 5% per level. I'm reading the wrong number. Damage is 300%. So Impale is the only thing on the entire tree that has percentage attack rating. Now, in a Legacy, the arrows don't work. So in the mod, I did increase the value of Penetrate to be 15 per level instead of 10 per level, and be more investment oriented. Now, with the current mod and how it works is if your attack rating is double the opponent's defense, you will hit them 95% of the time, which is the maximum. The UI here is wrong. It just is. So it is not taking a lot of that into consideration in the UI, but it is taking that into consideration when you're actually being hit. Oh, I was gonna buff Exploding Arrow. I didn't get to that. We are gonna move. So attack rating is now 0.5 of your dexterity. So it is a lot harder to acquire. And then all attack rating elsewhere. I don't know how well this is going to work. All attack rating elsewhere is also reduced by 1/5. I don't actually know the chances of hitting these enemies at the moment because the numbers are going to be all wrong. But the minimum is 35. Seems like I'm hitting pretty well. They just jump too much. Okay. Really annoying enemies. Hatchet hands. I am not an assassin. Hate to break it to you. So, kind of a personal opinion I've developed over the years, especially the past like 5. I am less and less interested personally into class-specific gear. I feel like gear is intended to be as generic as possible, whereas in like skills should be more class-specific. That's just my opinion. That's just who I am, I guess. Okay, what do we get? So I did get enhanced damage going negative working. It is creating a little blank line in there, but it is working at least now. And like I said, attack rating. So attack rating, think about it as this. For the most part, it's at least 1%. It's at least 1% increase in chance to hit, which means it's at least as good as it is in Diablo, to have some form of percent chance to hit kind of thing. But it looks like this one kind of sucks. We rolled negative damage, we rolled positive poison damage, and we got mana stolen, but mana stolen is based on your physical damage, which isn't great. So rares are significantly more common here, but they do have the chance of negative effects. So understand that while they are more common, they are also not as good comparatively. They're still very, very good if you don't get a negative effect. Still looking into changing how mana regen works. I would like to have mana regeneration work more like a MOBA, like Dota or something, modern Dota, where the mana regeneration is just a flat amount and items can have flat bonuses. I wouldn't mind having both a percentage and a flat amount, but I don't think having both is in the cards. I'm not even sure if having flat amounts is going to be in the cards or not. I think enemies are hitting too often so far. I'm not like super defensive, but they should require something like 72 uh, attack rating to hit me right now, and they probably have too much. I'm going to get staggered to death here. And they're slowing. Oh boy. I can't move. Oh my goodness gracious. I'm going to die. I'm going to die so hard. Okay. We're just going to do this. What do we get for an amulet? 7 poison damage over 3 seconds. Not great. Not great. Okay, we will... If I need cold resist, I need cold duration reduction. I don't really need cold resist. Oh yeah, that is something I was going to do, actually. Gotta remember my hotkeys. There we go. I don't really care about the stamina potions that much. So this is the kind of scenario that you might actually end up in Diablo 1, where you pull too many enemies and they just absolutely decimate you, that kind of stuff. And that's intended. It's intended to be a little bit, I don't know, trickier. I feel like that is costing way too much. I'm gonna keep this. +5 attack rating is actually really good. It's kind of like +5% chance to attack. It says 40%, but it really is a lot better than that. I am struggling to keep up my spells, so I'm actually going to put points into mana. I would like to get Exploding Arrow to a point where it is a lot better. I have not messed with it. I want to make it so that it carries over your physical damage into the attack explosion itself. I'm not sure if it does that. I have to check details. I just don't know. Oh my goodness gracious. Something in there is doing way too much damage. One of the reasons I don't like special items, and this is actually something interesting that has been discussed on Reddit and some other places. by the, I'm trying to remember what their name is, a bunch of Diablo 2 devs that have, what's the button? What's the button? There we go. Pin your life there. Got unpinned. When you start getting specialty items, you start running into a drop pool problem. And this is not going to appease everyone because some people really like that system, right? Having a bow or a hammer that has very specific, very special default abilities. So if you've played Path of Exile, you know what I'm talking about. Because in Path of Exile, this is on every single weapon or gear or whatever. So you pick up a bow and it might have a crit chance or pierce chance or something like that, and it's defaulted to the weapon type or the item type. So there's a team making a new Diablo-like, it's like Moonbeam or something. I don't remember. Moon Beast. I'm pretty sure that's it. And they have openly stated they do not want to do this. They want to avoid this in their game. And how I feel is that things like hatchet hands, claws, or barbarian helmets have the same problem. They are special, and suddenly they are an issue with the drop pool being diluted. It is not just find what you can and build a character. It is an issue of finding not only what you can, but then finding what you can for your class. So in the context of Diablo 2, the base game did not have class-specific items. Diablo 2 Classic. Not to be confused with Legacy, which is what I mean when I differentiate from Diablo 2 Resurrected. Classic means no expansion pack. In this context, at least. So in the expansion pack, they gave the Necromancer heads, which is really iconic. They gave the Paladin special shields, and they gave the Amazon special bows and spears. And you get the idea. The wands of the Necromancer are still there, and they're still technically class specific, but class specific items cannot be worn by the wrong class. And the fact that they can't be worn leads to a situation. Some users, some players, will then clamor for smart loot. I personally despise smart loot unless I can control it by turning it on, off, otherwise changing it somehow. Whereas in, I don't know where the exit is. This is just so many enemies. I'm going to say that these probably still have too high of attack rating. Just a guess. Smart loot and loot filters galore. Grim Dawn has them. Path of Exile has them. And this is not to say it's bad design or that people don't like it, because people obviously like it. I personally don't, and I'm glad that the Moonbeast team is also avoiding it, at least in the context of predetermined base effects. I hope they also avoid doing the same thing. Oh, you know what I probably didn't do? Look at that. I didn't change amethysts. They're completely broken for attack rating. So I don't know. It just, there's pros and cons to it. Obviously, it gives more thematic approach, aesthetic approach to a character. Ow. I like that. That actually hurt me. Surprised it hurt me. Missing an exploding arrow is the most painful thing right now, with it costing so much mana. Leaping enemies. But even in this run, I keep finding other classes' gear, and that is just super frustrating because I found a rare claw, but I can't use the rare claw. Now, but that's a class specific thing, and it's cool, and art and animations and everything else. But if you jump over to other games, any character can use a claw. I mean, Dark Souls has claws, Path of Exile has claws, pretty sure. And you know, if you want to play that way, play that way. I think that's cool. I think that's awesome. Now, it does lead to other ways to have to differentiate the classes, and I know that Path of Exile years later introduced the Ascendancy classes because the classes themselves had so little that was locked to them because of how the skill tree is so spread out and open. And I would like to like Path of Exile more. No matter how much I play it, I just don't love it. I wish I did. I just don't. And I think part of it is in the beginning, in the early game, I was just playing it yesterday a little bit just for some sort of research, if you will. Just to get the feel of it. It's been, I think, 3 years since I touched it in any serious context. And I wanted to see how it felt. And one of the things I noticed was my mod has a very similar drop rate of rares. Not uniques, but at least rares. So let's do this. Let's get out of here. First of all, there we go. I am out of stamina. This is bad. You do not get any bonuses for being out of stamina. But some of the things that actually irritate me with Path of Exile is, as much as all these choices exist, I feel like I'm constantly being limited by something that's outside of my control for whatever reason. And it feels contradictory, like it shouldn't be that way, or that I'm doing something wrong. And I can't tell that I'm doing anything wrong other than, you know, not having someone else basically leveling with me, which I guess you could say that that's wrong. Oof. That dude was like extra fast and cold enchanted. I don't know, something like that. There's Hatchet Hands again. So, where is the exit? It must be that way. So one of the things I really like about Path of Exile, because I don't want to just knock on games, I want to talk about pros and cons and design here. One of the things I really like about Path of Exile is the special nodes. The Ascendancy class stuff is cool, and I actually really appreciate it. It makes having a choice in your class be meaningful, and not just have everyone run, you know, the Witch or the Marauder or something like that, based on whatever the current meta is. The Scion, maybe. Whoever has the most access to, say, health nodes or something. Finally, the Far Oasis. We are really struggling for damage in general here. And so that was another issue. Oh my gosh, it's another super unique here. At least he's squish. The ascendancy nodes, as well as the regular, I don't know what you want to call them, super nodes, key nodes, keystone nodes, I think that's what they call them. Those are really fun, and I've liked a few, you know, like your energy shield protects your mana, and you can use your mana anytime you want out of your energy shield. And so you've got this like, cool play style. And it changes your play style. But I feel like a lot of the nodes, even after they've reworked so many things, for me, they just don't feel great because I just don't care. It's not interesting to have, in my opinion, uh, so many different options that do kind of the same thing. Really wish a composite bow would drop that is with bonus damage of some form. Let's try this out though. It's a lot faster. Maybe I can kill things a little bit better. There it is, waypoint. So you need the shaft from the Far Oasis. So for example, I'm not saying that Diablo 2 is perfect. Obviously, I'm modding Diablo 2. There are some very basic mechanics in this game. But things like dodge, avoid, and evade, these are 3 different skills that do almost the same thing. And for their time period, they made sense and they're really fun. But things like penetrate, attack rating, it's nice that this character class can kind of ignore attack rating a bit, which is great. I think that's awesome. But these aren't super interesting, and they're outside of this mod. They're locked to really high levels. This is locked to level 30. This is locked to level what is it, like 18 or 24 or something. Like it's just 30, 24, 18. Yeah, so 18. So you'd have to get all the way to level 18 before penetrate is even useful. It's even available. And then it's only like a little bit of attack rating. And then attack rating percentage is additive. So if you're using melee, it's kind of not that good. Because leveling up your melee attacks in the base game might give you something like 10% per level. And so getting an extra 15% from penetrate, it's just additive. You could probably just level up your skill. And so many of the things that I'm doing, wow, those are both trapped. Many of the things that I'm doing is trying to make it so that attack rating, in this case, attack rating, is more generic, more available, and simultaneously, if you're missing, you can get just a little bit of attack rating and jettison yourself straight forward to hitting again. And Path of Exile's evasion isn't, terrible or anything like that. But this skill is dated. That's really what I'm coming down to. A lot of these skills in Diablo 2, they are dated. They're very simple. Fire arrow and exploding arrow probably don't need to exist or coexist in the same way that a lot of abilities nowadays would. But at the same time, there's the maggot layer. At the same time, I think, and this is just a guess, kind of, this is me just kind of speaking my mind and introspecting on my experience with Path of Exile the other day. I feel like some aspects of Path of Exile feel very cluttered. The design feels cluttered. The UI feels cluttered. There's just so much going on. And call me old because I am. But I like simple. I like a lot of very simple things playing in together, making simple but strong decisions, bold decisions. Now, the items in Path of Exile, they're fine. I had this memory that they were kind of, I don't know, mismatched or not very good or whatever, but the item Path of Exile, they're practically identical to Diablo 2 in a lot of how they roll and what they do. Rares can hold 3 prefixes and 3 suffixes maximum, just like Diablo 2. Magic items, I think, can have up to 3 affixes maybe, but I think that's just a special case scenario. Maybe I was reading something weird on the wiki. I wiki hold. Just read a bunch of random crap on the wiki. I found my health going down too often. I found defense to be kind of weird, and I found gear progression to be extremely fast, where I wasn't finding, for reference, I was playing a Marauder, and I was focusing on just, you know, big hammer, axe, something, and pure physical damage reduction with the armor system in Path of Exile. So heavy armor gives damage reduction, and I wanted armor. Well, physical damage reduction. Whereas in here, it gives armor class defense. It's going to loop around, isn't it? Totally is. But a lot of the enemy types in Path of Exile felt bad. And I'm not saying, again, Diablo 2 is dated. I'm not saying it's perfect. But I felt like a lot of the enemies were super fast, super strong, super this, super that, all the time. And the combat just didn't feel all that interesting for whatever reason. And I'm speaking of leveling up a character here. I'm not talking about doing maps. I don't find maps interesting, so I've only done a handful of maps ever. So take that for what you will. There we go. Level 2. Come on. Click the thing. Ooh, splint mail. Very heavy. A lot of armor. What's my strength at? Very heavy. Can't wear it. But due to how the skill tree works in Path of Exile, I felt like the individual classes are identityless. They lack a lot of their identity, and a lot of what in, say, Diablo or Diablo 2, because I'm going to lump Diablo 1 in here, a lot of what you'd want on an item is coming from your skill tree. And I feel like a lot of that could be just differentiated differently, I guess. Mana costs are extremely expensive in there as well, even for like a melee class. I've definitely increased mana costs here and intend that. And health on the enemies feels a little high there as well, at least until I was a significantly higher level where I could start one or two shotting enemies. But like right now, we're using the crappiest bow possible in this game, and this is a mod where enemies are somewhat more dangerous. And yeah, we're struggling, but we probably wouldn't be struggling quite in the same way if we were playing vanilla Diablo 2. This guy is just popping out babies. There we go. Wow, he's a named enemy and he didn't get us a rare. I think we have too many health potions. But I will argue that in the Diablo genre, a lot of enemies kind of suck. They aren't all that interesting. I like these guys, kind of. Because a little bit of lightning damage can kill you, especially if you're already low health from, say, poison damage. The damage type combination there is pretty interesting. I'm gonna swap to lifesteal. It's probably stronger. It might not be, actually. I don't do enough physical damage. I'm not sure how you kill locusts with a bow and arrow. Just saying. There are some things that have always kind of put me off in certain ideas of enemies, that's for sure. Like I said, I'm really struggling in here. So I know the Amazon's not exactly like the go-to character in Diablo 2 to go, hey, this is the most interesting character class ever. But I've played a couple archers in Path of Exile, and I've never actually been able to finish the storyline with archers because it feels like I'm playing a mage and not an archer. You've got like teleporting strike and like rain of arrows, and these are all cool and all. But I want to do less just kill the screen and more, I don't know, stand still and fire arrows. I know a lot of people will find that boring, so I want to see if I can wear this chainmail or if it's even useful. 92 armor on a chainmail, 95 armor on a splint mail. Those are probably really good to sell. I am going to start putting points into strength. Back to the mod a little bit. One of the things that I have done in the past day is that in the mod, you no longer get stats per level. So this character is now locked for stats as it levels up. It will not get mana or health. This is a massive deviation from the Diablo 1 and Diablo 2 formula. But one of the things I look at this as is the idea that you have 5 stats for allocation, and I sort of figure that that's enough. And if it's not enough, you can get it from somewhere else. So there's just one less thing to pay attention to, one less thing to track, and it's less of a moving target when it comes to a lot of your mana and health. And that's okay. I think that it's just simpler that way. And it also means that every character class is even more standardized and the same. Those poison clouds will hit you always. I'm not sure if I'm underleveled or overleveled for some of this stuff. But I tend to enjoy a lot more Diablo 1 stuff, more Diablo as a survival game or a challenge game where you're just playing it to get through it. There's no super late game. There's no, I mean, maybe you have some like special bosses or something like the Ubers in Diablo 2. 23% magic find. I will say that this is actually extremely good in the mod because of how high chance you are to get stuff. But hey, there it is. Takes too long. But for example, I think it would be interesting to have more abilities in general in the character classes. I don't know that are more unique, but while at the same time in Diablo 1 you could learn every skill in the game more or less. Okay, yeah, exploding arrow still sucks. Foul. Wait, where'd your name go? Complete side tangent to talk about UI. Something I was thinking about the other day, and I was actually sharing this with a friend, as I often do. before I talk about them in the channel here is in Diablo 1, there was this interesting UI system where you could see the stats of the enemy down here in the middle console. And this is kind of seen as this weird, bad design nowadays, where you want as little as possible cluttering up the screen, especially in the middle of the screen. And I kind of disagree with that. I'd rather have more in the middle of the screen down here and less on the sides because I can't see the sides at a glance. You can see the orb shrinking, but you have to actually kind of move your eyes down to actually see it. And if I was playing this in widescreen, if this was widescreen capable, it then continues to move things farther and farther away from your vision. So you're constantly moving around. So I'm in favor of the Diablo 1 UI in a lot of ways, as well as something I've never seen in a Diablo-like that I'm aware of, at least, is a way to keep your last target down here. So if you're fighting a boss, it's not uncommon in, say, a Dark Souls game to have a giant health bar, right? And that tells you a lot about your progress. But in the Diablo games, and I can't remember about boss battles in Path of Exile, but I think they do have health bars. I'm not sure. It's been too long. No, I think it's just the overlay above. I think it's just the overlay above. But having a way to kind of lock in some of what you're doing. There's just too much things in my face. Go away. But so, for example, this boss, I can click it, I can kind of hover it, but it's hard to see until I kill a bunch of stuff that's standing next to it because other stuff is taking my hover. So I think there's better ways to handle UI that way. The Staff of Kings. That took way too long, but it is what it is. Helmet. Okay, let's identify this. 32%. Okay, we're just going to put that there for now. We're going to put this right there for now. We'll identify that. Sell it. 36%. That's 36 damage or defense. It's a lot, and it should really help with dealing with enemies, but we don't have any other hit recovery other than that. We should be able to grab this and sell this, though. That'll be a good sell. We have any good belts? I'm always looking for a better belt. Life regen is nice, but enhanced defense 5, superior with 2 sockets. I did put enhanced defense on shields here. Not sure if that was default or how that was before, but not sure if I like that. I'm not sure if I'm even a fan of defense being on shields because they have a chance to block. And I feel like it should be kind of one or the other. Is it defense or is it block chance? I don't know. Just a thought there. Life regen. I'm just going to sell it. 7 to attack rating. 5% enhanced defense. Really? I didn't. Oh, it's superior. That's why. So superior probably needs a bonus that's higher than 5%. It's not very interesting. And I like interesting modifiers that actually add something to it. Like the 7 attack rating is actually huge. Like, what are we at? We're at 47. That would like a 20% increase, 15% increase. Okay, let's see here. Let's get more strength. Whoops. Alt tabbed there. So the next area we have to go to, of course, is the Claw Viper Temple. I'm going to give this to him. And I'll put this back on. And then for now, he can just wear that because it's really good. And this is an old helmet that had 20% attack rating, so it shouldn't do that anymore. It won't roll those kind of numbers anymore. 20% or 20 flat is a bit high. I'm just going to sell that for now. We can always buy more. So ring mail, 46. See, ring mail with some percentages on it would be great. I'm going to buy this for some cold resist. I don't know. We are going to take a point into immolation arrow. Let's see what we can find. I think we have to go down a set of stairs here. Again, not to rag on Path of Exile, just some observations and opinions on it, though, is a lot of the abilities are very locked to a stat. And this feels bad. And I don't know how I feel about certain other ways of locking stats because I've been trying to get stuff like, say, button, fire arrow scaling off of dexterity, you know? And if it's too high of a scaling, then you're kind of locking in the stat. But if it's too low of a scaling, it's a worthless scaling and it might as well just be removed. I believe that Path of Exile 2 has already actually addressed this, where your stats are more meaningful when it comes to scaling and health and stuff like that. So intelligence gives more mana, and strength gives more health and stuff like that. Anyways, I'm really excited for Path of Exile 2, just FYI. I might play it on this channel. We'll see. My dude leveled up. He's stronger now. He's getting poisoned, though. Okay. We are already on the lower level, so we'll see how this plays out. Sure, it's just around the corner here. That's not the right button. I do like double damage with the fire arrow, so that's kind of what I would expect out of the fire arrow. A lot of the numbers are going to be really off in this mod still. Getting 2 mana per kill is nice. I have reduced the low end back to, I think it was originally just 1 mana per kill. I'm not sure if that was vanilla or me buffing it, but it's it does require a slightly higher item level to get something like that, 2 mana per kill. Come on, where's the exit? There it is. Here we go. We can do this. I don't want a spear, thank you. Spectral hit. Drognon, what is it? What is the special darkness? Oh, you mean I have to go to town and talk to him? Right. He can't hear my voice. Okay. Um, Jokes aside, I've always found it interesting. Again, just kind of continuously ranting here, but I've always found it interesting that games like Diablo have really lackluster stories a lot of the time and or lackluster NPCs. But then as soon as you start making them interesting, you're constantly having to go back and forth to talk to a dude or to finish their quest in a certain way. And I don't know. There's got to be a different way of balancing that. Just design wise, like doing some different stuff there. Okay, we got some chain gloves. Extra gold from monsters. I mean, that could be useful. Attacker takes damage of 1. Well, I'll sell it. Movement speed is slower in this mod, is another thing to be aware of. So me running around like this is, it is slower to do. And enemies are hitting me probably still way too much for different reasons, but reasons of my own control, but nonetheless, reasons. So like that, like he just got absolutely wasted by that mob. I'm getting wasted by this mob. So maybe 35% chance to hit is a little high for the minimum. And maybe these guys are still set to way too much attack rating. Come here. Yeah, immolation arrow. I feel like it should last longer, maybe. I don't know. Light gauntlets. I know you do. 9? Okay, that's something I need to fix. I just don't agree with that. Ah. Holy cow, these guys hurt. You're doing 10 damage a hit? That might be on the low end. 10 damage and you're fast attacking. I don't know about that. I've skewed all the systems here. Average fire damage per second, 89 max. Does explosion damage. So I haven't messed with it yet, and I will definitely mess with it for the next video. Immolation arrow, I want it to be something more like a firewall, something more interesting slightly. So what I will probably do is something to the extent of when you fire it, it will have a trail of fire that lasts a very short period of time. And then after that trail of fire, it will explode when it hits something. Wait, did they cancel me on my attack? Yes, they did. That is actually something Path of Exile just talked about. If you are canceled out of an attack in Path of Exile 2, your mana will be kind of refunded because it is now based on the animation length. So that sounds really neat. How they did it, I'm not sure if that makes sense specifically, but that is a trapdoor. I don't want that. I do want the right entrance. No, 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 no. You need a key. I need to survive. So mana regeneration still feels garbage. I don't like it. I think there should be better options. Anyways. But yeah, mana recovery after being hit in Path of Exile 2 is a big change to the formula, and I think it's a really good design. The execution is weird, and I'm not sure if I understand why they're doing the execution the way they're doing. I'm going to die here because I don't have my stuff in my inventory. Oh, come on. Staggers need to be maybe slightly less common. Not sure how to pull that off, but stagger in Diablo 2 is not a percentage chance to occur. It is guaranteed if they deal a certain amount of damage based on your health. So if I could ever change that, it is on the stretch goals. It is a low priority, but it is on the stretch goals. For the mod, I don't. But what I would do is I'd probably make it so that it would not be a guaranteed chance to do it. It would be more of a sell that. I'm going to sell that. It'd be more of a chance to stun you instead of like this kind of almost guaranteed chance to stun you. So the more damage you're dealt, the more likely you are to be staggered, but not if you're dealt a certain threshold, you just instantly get staggered. Sorry, I backtracked on this like 3 times because I'm getting hit so often, but in regards to how they're handling in Path of Exile 2 the mana restoration after being staggered, I would do it differently. I would probably charge half the mana up front and half the mana on completion. Or do it something similar to Warcraft 3 or Dota, where the mana is only charged if you succeed. And I think they want something kind of halfway in between, but this linear scale feels a little off to me, or it just feels like it's unnecessarily granular. Instant death. Maybe it's down below. I don't know. Oh boy. Man, these guys are really evasive. They jump when they take damage, and then they also jump all the time anyways. I don't have a teleport up. I don't have a portal up. I'm going to call it quits. So until next time, I will probably try to find the Viper Temple and just start in the Viper Temple.